Hey, welcome back to the channel. Super glad you're here. Today I'm going to break down my 4-step science-backed system for predicting your goal marathon time and how to pace it like a pro. I'm talking real science, real data here. Forget those outdated methods. This system is something I've found incredibly helpful in my own marathon running, and one of the reasons I accredit to running my last 3 marathons in 2:39, 2:38 and 2:37. You see, marathon running isn't just lacing up your shoes and giving it a crack. It's a science, and it boils down into 4 key elements: pacing, nutrition, mental skills and tapering. Today I'm just going to deep dive into pacing, because as much as you want to run a certain time, if that time exceeds your physiological capacity, there's no way it's going to happen. And you've probably already run a marathon or at least a half, and you've come up a bit shorter than you'd expected or hoped. You blamed your nutrition, the training, the conditions, the paces, the course, cramps. But I'll put money on, if you sat down, reviewed your GPS data, compared that data with some of your training runs, that you'd find the exact solution you've been looking for as to what happened in your race and how you can pace it more appropriately next time to optimize your performance and stop that coming up short feeling. In this video, I'm going to break down the what, as in what you need to do and analyze within your training to predict your goal marathon time and pacing strategy, where, as in where to look within these particular training sessions to find the crucial information that's going to help you, and how, as in how to use this information to optimize your performance and increase your potential for a good race on race day, regardless of your fitness, the conditions, or the course. This what, where, how make up the backbone of my 4-step process for predicting your goal marathon pace or finish time. Alright, so let's get into it. Step 1. For my process to be effective, you need to have done at least 30 minutes at your goal marathon effort pace power within 6 weeks of your goal marathon. Now, ideally, you would have done this 30 minutes within a 2-hour long run. So my recommendations here would be, say, a 2x10k or 2x6 mile, 3x4 mile or 3x8k, or a progressive 2.5 to 3 hour run where you're finishing with 30 to 45 minutes of marathon effort at the end of that progressive run. All right, so that's the what. Now we need the where. Where are we going to look within this data to get the crucial information we need? So for step 2, we're only concerned about our 30-minute marathon effort. If you've done more than 30 minutes or you've done something like a 2x10k, say 2x6 miles, we're only concerned about the last 30 minutes you did at your marathon effort. Within Garmin Connect, you can simply highlight the section on the desktop and it'll give you the values in the bottom right-hand corner. In Strava, it's a little more difficult because you need to add them up and average them. Personally, I use Training Peaks because it makes analyzing data from any GPS device 1,000 times easier. It's why I host all my training plans there and include a premium subscription in my Training Unlimited membership. So that's the 30 minutes that we're looking for. Then we get into step 3, which is finding the information that is going to be most important to us within that 30-minute section. So there's going to be our average heart rate and our peak heart rate for that 30-minute section. It's going to be our average pace and our average power. So in the example I have here, we've got a 406 minute per K average or a 436 minute mile, a 161 BPM average heart rate with a 167 BPM max or peak heart rate for that section, and we have 366 watts as the average power output. Now that we have the important data that we need, we can jump into step 4 and see how these averages align with our thresholds and training zones. If you're a little unsure on your threshold and training zones, be sure to grab my training zones how-to guide to get yourself up to speed. Our goal is that our average heart rate sits within our zone 3, so that would be 88 to 95% of our threshold heart rate. And we want to make sure our peak heart rate stays under our threshold heart rate value, which will be the top of zone 4 in my 7-zone system. If your numbers align with those numbers, then we can use our average pace and power as our target values for the first hour of the marathon. Now keep in mind that when we get to race day, we should experience a 1 to 2% boost in performance from tapering and the mental enhancements you get from race day. So knowing that we get a small performance enhancement on race day, we can be confident that these average pace and power numbers give us a realistic and reliable insight into what we are capable of in terms of physiological pacing strategy, this is going to set us up with the highest potential to still have energy remaining in the final stages of the marathon, rather than going out too hard, hitting the wall and having to grovel all the way to the finish. Now, if your average heart rate is at the very top of zone 3 or above zone 3, there's no way that effort is going to be sustainable for a marathon. You'll be burning too much carbohydrate and accumulating too much heat to sustain a consistent effort, and you'll eventually need to slow down. So my suggestion would be to reduce the numbers you have by 5%, say 5 to 10 seconds per K per mile, so that you are operating at a physiological steady state and you're not going to risk blowing up at, say, the 20-mile mark. Now, one problem you may encounter is if you finish with a "see what I've got left" at the end of your marathon effort. This is especially true for progressive efforts where you may want to finish just to empty the tank right at the end. In this case, your average pace and heart rate and peak heart rate are going to be a little skewed for that 30-minute section. So I suggest you remove that section from your averages so that you are getting a proper insight into what you're trying to achieve in a steady state window. So even if you have only 20-25 minutes because you really pushed the boat out at the end of your session, that's totally fine. It's the steady state that we're looking for. And the fact that you're able to increase your pace or power or effort at the end is always going to be a good sign that you have something left in the tank. So just eliminate that section from your averages and go through the same 4-step process that I outlined previously. Before I finish, I just want to touch on unrealistic expectations, because I have a hunch that the 4-step process I've just outlined is going to bring about numbers that are slower than what you'd expected or hoped for. As someone who's run almost 20 marathons and analyzed hundreds of marathon files, I can tell you that few races ever go perfectly. Getting attached to an arbitrary finish time will statistically not end well for you. What makes a successful marathon is adjusting to how you feel, the conditions, and the course to get the most out of yourself on the day. Detaching from a specific outcome as a measure of success or failure increases your potential to have a great race by listening to your body, aligning with your metrics, and appreciating your performance for what it was, not how it compared to what you hoped the clock would say. All right, that's me. So just to recap those 4 steps, we want to do or find an effort where you've done at least 30 minutes of marathon pace within a 2-hour run. We want to highlight that section and find your average pace, power, heart rate, as well as your peak heart rate for that 30-minute section. And then we want to make sure that your average heart rate is within your zone 3, 88 to 95% of your threshold, and then your peak heart rate stays below zone 4, excluding any hard finishes you did right at the end of the session. All right, hit me up with your marathon stories in the comments section. I'm keen to hear them, good or bad. See you on the next one. #faster with data.